Guys, welcome back. So in this video I'm going to be showing you how I made my shield for my Eevee warrior, and it's kind of like an evolution type thing because it has kind of all of them together. So basically this is just me working on it, and it took forever because I am not very experienced with EVA foam. So I was still pretty new at how to use it, how to do anything with it really. But into the video. So I'm basically cutting out, oh no, I'm drawing out right now. But I cut out the circle, and then I ended up doing on the same paper, making it a smaller circle so I could do the inside part. So then it kind of made it a little bit more sturdy. And for some reason that one decided to curl, so I had to like flatten it again. So I am sticking, yeah, there we go. Look at that. Oh, so pretty. And then I cut that piece out too. And I did something different. I used hot glue and put it all over it, and basically it dried really quick. By the way, I used a lot of glue sticks on this thing. Like so many glue sticks. At one point I had to switch to the large glue gun because it took so long. But I used the heat gun to heat the glue back up so then I could stick it back down. So then I wouldn't have to keep heating and reheating. Then I sanded down the sides to make it a little bit more rounder and heated it up and ground it down. And I didn't show it, but I used some sealant along the edges so then it will seal it in there so it wouldn't move as much. Because I was kind of worried that it'd come apart at some point. So that sealant really helped seal it in so it wouldn't move. After I did that, I found the middle of it and put a pin in so then I could put my ruler on there so I can make the edge and the design so I can draw it all out to make it look nice. Drawing the middle design in. And the design I already had planned out. I had kind of just sketched it out in my sketchbook and already knew what I wanted it to look like. So it was just mainly me going off what my sketchbook had. Oh, and then it jumps to me working on the jewels that I put in the middle. And I used hot glue for them, and I ended up painting them too with acrylic paint, but some reason that clip is gone. But the hot glue actually works really well to kind of put it in molds, so then it will mold to what it is. So I molded jewels. And then I ended up taking strips and putting them onto the design I drew out. And the strips were long strips that I cut in half, so it's like half the width of the foam. And it took a long time to get all these to sit, because I had to do difference between heating it up a little bit. Well, not as much because it was a little thinner, so. But it's mostly shaping it and gluing it. It took a long time to do to get it looking right. And then I decided I wanted to do the edges, but I had to come up with an idea of what the edges should look like. So I had to like draw it out and then cut it all out. And then I cut all the pieces out for it. Then after I stuck all the pieces onto it, I used the heat gun to heat everything up so then it'd be easier to sand down. And I went around the edges and sanded it all down. Oh, and then I used some sealant on it. I didn't use sealant on this one. Not this part, at least. Not yet. Oh, I was gonna use the sealant, and then I realized I had to do the middle part. So I went through and did the circle around and had to cut around as I went. It was a good idea to do these strips because these strips worked perfect for it. They're just about the right length and they formed really well in there. After I got all that in, I ended up doing the middle part of the design. Because I couldn't figure out if I wanted to cut it out, like have it sunk in, or have it popping out. And I decided popping out was probably going to be better. A lot of the other props I used for this have it more sunken in, so maybe having something a little different would work better. And then I blasted it with the heat gun again, just to make it all easier to mold. And then I took my router and went around and rounded out all the edges and corners. And then I was measuring on where the jewels are gonna go so I could cut those areas out. So I went around the whole thing and measured it out. And I ground down where the spots for the jewel would go, just so then it fit in there really nice at the end. And that's kind of like a template jewel that I had. I made an extra one because it was kind of deformed, but it was about the right size, so I was able to use that to roughly guesstimate where I want it. And then I used the sealant around it, around all the edges, just to give it a nice seal so then it wouldn't pop up at some point. Because then if it gets hot or anything like that, if the glue pops up, at least it won't pop all the way off because the sealant will keep it on there for a little longer. And then this is about a day later after the sealant's already been dried. And I decided I was gonna take it and just start sanding it down. I started with the block sander just to get a little bit off of it. Oh, and then I popped over to the back because I decided maybe I should start getting the back looking like have the strap on it. So I ended up cutting a hole in the back, 2 holes for the back strap and 2 holes for the front. And I used that fabric, I can't remember what it's called, I think it's just vinyl. But it works really well as kind of like a faux leather kind of look. But after I cut out the little strips, I ended up having to take the heat gun and heat up the glue again just to pull it apart so then it could slide in. And I had to do the exact same thing for the other part, but I did a little higher and a little smaller because it's for my hand to go onto, so it doesn't have to be quite as big as the arm strap. I put that in there, and then I ended up gluing the edges down on that just so then it wouldn't pop back up. So then the handle can be like that and I can tie the back part. Then I went in and started painting. And painting took pretty long to do as well, because it's a lot, the foam ends up soaking up a lot of the paint, but it soaks up a lot less when you actually like use the heat gun on it. So it took about, I want to say 3 coats maybe. So that's not too bad because it's like a coat of brown, I think like 2 coats of brown maybe, and then I added on some other colors just to kind of give it some more wood-like texture, just to give it a little bit more color to it, I guess, instead of just plain brown. But it was like a mix of like umber and yellow brown. And then after I got all the brown done, I ended up going in with the silver, and I used a light silver and a dark silver. And I went through and painted all the little details on the shield to make it look more like metal. after I got that done, I decided I wanted to have rivets in it. So I ended up taking some thumbtacks and just gluing them around the edges of the shield just to make it look a little more rivet-like, I guess a little more realistic. Which that did not take long at all to do, and it turned out really nice looking. And then I ended up taking some Mod Podge and just painting over the entire thing just to give it a clear coat. So then the paint won't come off, and then it'll hold the thumbtacks in there a little bit easier too. After all the Mod Podge was dry, I took the little gems that I had painted and organized them around the shield on how I want them, and then I just went around and used hot glue and glued them into their spots. And that's how my shield turned out. I really love how it turned out, and I'm really excited about this upcoming con to be able to use it. So I'll probably be posting some pictures and maybe even some videos of the con itself. So look for those, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!